Hello, this is Simracing Corner. Today we're talking button boxes, specifically the Stream Deck versus a traditional button box like one of these two. So these days I do use the Stream Deck. You see it in my sim racing videos. You can see this Stream Deck in this console, which is a DIY project. I'll put a link in the description to this whole assembly if you're interested in that. But if you are sort of thinking about picking up a button box and you've seen people use Stream Decks, you may have seen people with a nice kind of fancy boutique sim button box like this, and you're not sure which one to go for. That's the reason for this video, to talk about my experience of how I ended up starting with this and then moving on to this, and the pros and cons. So hopefully that'll give you some ideas and enable you to kind of pick out which is the best option for you. When I first started out in sim racing a few years ago, I didn't have a lot of money and I liked the idea of a button box, but I didn't really want to spend a lot of money, so I made this myself. I bought all these parts from eBay, some cheap buttons and a ABS hobby box and a zero delay joystick controller. This in the back of here, and it works perfectly fine. There's a decent amount of controls. We've got buttons there, buttons on top. I added my own labels with one of these label makers, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and it works pretty well. I was quite happy with it. But after a time, I did fancy getting something better, so I did upgrade to this Derek Spears Designs button box, which I was really happy with, and this button box I've used the longest out of everything I've owned, button box wise. So this was used for probably about 3 years, and it's very good. It's 26 controls on here, effectively, or 26 buttons, because you have your standard push buttons there. You have your dials, and that's one button press, and that's another button press, a different button press register, and of course on all of those, and the same for those switches. Turns out to be 26 in total, which is a decent amount for something of this compact size. It's nice. It's quite chunky, really solid materials, and yeah, happy with it. I think so it's really nice button box. So yeah, can't complain about its performance and the sturdiness and the look of it. I think it looks really nice with the carbon fibre-esque front on there. But yeah, it did have labels on there, which I have peeled off. They're no longer on there, but use the same labels from this. And yeah, it's a shame to kind of deface it with labels, because it does look so nice like that, but you need them. And yeah, so I had this for quite some time. Then eventually, Stream Deck came out, and I didn't jump on the bandwagon straight away. I was quite happy with this button box, but I was waiting for a sale. Black Friday sale came up, and there was also warehouse deal, like return Stream Decks, etc. And I picked this up for about £80. So I was really happy with that. I thought it was a good deal. I had it. I didn't even use it for about 6 months. It's on the shelf because I was completely satisfied with this. So eventually got around to installing this, because you install something on your sim rig, you have to kind of mess around with your console and things around your cockpit. So that's kind of probably why I didn't sort of get on the case. But I set it up, and it is very easy to set up with the software and everything, which I'll talk about in a moment as well. But there was a time when I had both of them mounted, one on either side of the wheelbase, and I also mapped the same controls. And the reason why I did that was I wanted to see if I preferred the traditional button box or the Stream Deck. And as it happens, I ended up basically using the Stream Deck. My eye was drawn to the Stream Deck more so than this button box, and there was good reason for that as well, because in low light conditions, these buttons are backlit. That makes them a lot clearer to view, opposed to having labels on there, which can be a little bit difficult to view in dim light, and that kind of made a difference. And I also found, even when I did have good lighting, it's a lot easier to cast your eye on an icon like this than it is to look at a generic label which is written above or below a switch or button on here. And I found it a lot easier, a lot quicker. I could scan and I could went straight to what I wanted, where here you're just kind of reading what you want. Of course you kind of learn what the positions of what your controls are, but occasionally you do have to kind of glance, because there are some controls you don't use as much, so you do have to read them off. So I found it actually quicker to use the Stream Deck. And of course, of course we have these, dials and buttons and switches, but they are just basically, button presses effectively. So they can be replicated on here, so that's not a problem. Another thing which is apparent, is the fact is, 26 controls is pretty good, but if you need more, then you're stuffed, because you either buy another button box to add to this, or you buy a larger button box to compensate for that. Well, on the Stream Deck, you just have multiple screens. You can have an unlimited amount of screens here, and you can just go around forever and ever and just add them to the software. You add them, you just drag and drop, icons on there, and and it's very, very easy to, basically make this up. The software is basically it's very WYSIWYG. You just see a graphical representation of this grid, and you just basically add buttons, add the controls, and that's it really. It is really simple. There really is no difficulty in getting this set up. So it's not as if, obviously this is simpler and you just map a button, etc., but this isn't that difficult at all. It is very simple. And as I said, there's an advantage of having multiple screens. You don't run out of buttons, which you will on this. Another advantage of the Stream Deck, which is worth knowing, is if you play multiple driving games, you're going to have crossover controls where you're going to map a lot of this sort of stuff. But there will be some games where sorry about that. That was SimCat. You heard a kind of yelling in the background. That distracted me. So where were we? Yes, as I was saying, there'll be lots of driving games where you use the same controls. Certainly, so you just map it all the same, and it's all absolutely fine. But there'll be some titles which there'll be some particular controls which are exclusive to that game, and they won't be used in other games. So sometimes you can have this kind of mix and match sort of thing where parts of this button box is going to be usable and some parts won't be. You get used to it. I guess it's not a massive problem, but that is the case. But with a Stream Deck, you can have multiple templates, and that template will load up when the game runs, and therefore you can customize the amount of controls, the position of the controls specifically for that game, and that gives you something which is custom for that, where here you have to have something which is generic and does everything, and so it's not, doesn't have the same convenience as the Stream Deck. The Stream Deck will just give you everything you need for that game, where this will be littered with some controls which may or may not be useful to you for a particular driving game. So that is definitely worth noting. This leads nicely onto another pro for the Stream Deck. On this button box, if I have it fully labelled up, but I want to change out one of the controls to map it to something else, I'll have to take off the label, print another one, stick it back on here. But with the Stream Deck, it's all done in software, so it's very quick and easy. No hassle at all. So yeah, that reduces the friction of having to remap anything on your button box. VR users would probably consider this as a better button box, as it's something tactile, the very definitive layout of switches and buttons and dials which you can feel your way around, which is fair enough. You still need to remember what's what and sort of count your way in, so it's not particularly quick to use in VR, and I don't think this is actually that practical in VR personally. I would say what you want is just basically a good button plate with like that, and you'll be able to reach over and get to your controls, and it'll be much easier to locate all those buttons and dials on this than it is on that. That said, VR headsets normally have a bit of a gap below which has which you can see into the outside world. So if you tilt your head, you might be able to see between the little gap here, down here, and see what's going on. And quite honestly, if that's the case, that's easier to see than that. If you're looking for labels, by the fact it's backlit icons, that's certainly more striking than it is to try and read little printed labels on there. So yeah, I wouldn't say particularly this is a big advantage in VR. I wouldn't say that at all. So I wear gloves while racing, and this is the fattest glove I have. It's a real karting glove, and I've never had a problem mispressing buttons on here. they are large enough and spaced out enough where I can pretty much tap anything I need to tap without any problem. So yes, you can use gloves and it works absolutely fine. So yeah, no problem there either. As for value for money, I feel the Stream Deck is better value for money than one of these. Just imagine if someone invented this device for sim racing and it didn't exist as a general consumer product. It had the same features as this, same software, and it's made only for sim racing. That would be a £500 product, right? So the Stream Deck is only £150. Get it second hand on eBay, it's about £100. So value for money, I think it's excellent value for money. This was $100. The cheapest button box I found on eBay was £35, and it had half the controls of this. And even at full price of say £150, and you get £150 button box, that's still better value for money for me. So yeah, every day of the week, Stream Deck I think exceeds its value for sim racing over one of these button boxes. As much as I like them, these things are sort of overpriced for what the components are, but high-end sim racing, these boutique products do command a higher price, where general consumer products, which we're repurposing for sim racing, come in at a lower price. So I think yes, the Stream Deck I think is better value for money than a regular button box. So there you have it. For me, the Stream Deck is the better button box than a regular button box. So you may not agree with me, but this is an opinion piece from my experience using button boxes, starting off with this and moving on to the Stream Deck, and I'll never go back to this. Simple as that, because the Stream Deck is a much better button box. It's more versatile, price is good, it's compact. It just basically does everything you want it to do, and it's absolutely perfect for sim racing. Before I go, I'll just show you the viewing angles, because you might be wondering if it does wash out when you do have extreme angles, but the image on this screen does not. So behind here is just a single OLED panel, which is windowed out with these buttons. It's not like individual tiny little displays, although it does look like that, but no, it's just segmented off, just a single screen. But look at that, absolutely fine. It has viewing angles right to the limit. You can just see nothing washes out. It's absolutely perfect. So there you go. Yeah, feel free to drop comments below the video, guys. Always good to hear what you think. But there you have it for this one: Stream Deck versus button box. Stream Deck wins. Cheers, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy and happy simming. Bye bye.